for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Thursday to all of you out there. It is Pushing the Limits. So glad that you could all join us. Of course, on the AM/FM dial, KSHP, and you can catch us on the Occupy Democrats Network, on the Washington Press Network. We ask that you subscribe for $5 with Occupy, $5 a month, just a cup of coffee, and, of course, my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. And, boy, we got a jam-packed show. A lot to get to today. We're going to talk about these RNC Robocalls that have been taking place at the hands of Lara Trump. This might shock some of you, but they're not really telling the truth in these robocalls. We'll talk a little bit about that. And John Bolton has told us who he's going to vote for president. It might surprise you a little bit. We'll get to that as well. And, of course, the news of O.J. Simpson passing at the age of 76. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We got the big Mo in the house. Paul McKeskey co-hosting with me here. Mo, good to see you on a Thursday. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Beautiful day out. Springtime in Las Vegas. Doing great. 80 degrees and sunny.
That's right.
All is well in the world. And if you don't look outside your house.
Well, I got to start by saying this. When a celebrity dies, usually there's different circumstances, obviously, depending on who it is. I remember when Kobe Bryant passed away, and I don't want to compare Kobe Bryant to what took place today, but I just want to say I took that really hard. I think a lot of us did, just the circumstances of the death, his beautiful daughter and all those innocent people on that helicopter. And Kobe was just starting the second part of his life, and it was so tragic, and it was emotional for me. I mean, I had interviewed Kobe numerous times here in Vegas for USA Basketball, and I loved talking to him. Such a smart, eloquent guy, and not perfect. He made his mistakes in his life, but man, he was doing so many good things to help people, especially kids. And so that was horrible, right? And then I woke up today and I heard about O.J. Simpson. And the first thing that entered my mind was good riddance. And the reason why I say that, I think, are for pretty obvious reasons. Yes, I know he was found not guilty in the double murder case, even though he was found liable for the murders of his ex-wife and Ronald Goldman. I believe O.J. Simpson was a psychopath, a man of rage, who was a wife beater. And I believe the world is a better place without O.J. Simpson. I wasn't rooting for this to happen, but I don't care. I remember watching the police chase when I was in junior high school. I think I was 12 years old.
You know where I was?
Where were you?
Hartford, Connecticut.
Were you
coaching
really?
the Hellcats.
How about that? How about that? But, Mo, I go back and the evidence is overwhelming that, he was there on the scene of the crime. His footprints, his DNA, the cut on his finger. And if he didn't kill his ex-wife and Ronald Goldman, which, by the way, I believe he did, but if he didn't, he certainly knows who did because he was on the scene of the crime. That's 100%. And I look back on the trial, as I'm sure you watched it as well.
If they don't fit, you must acquit.
Yeah.
The problem is, they showed the picture today. They fit.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
true.
much.
Johnny Cochran, right? The late Johnny Cochran. Listen, he had a very good Kardashian, Cochran, Shapiro, Bailey. He had they called it the Dream Team. These were very skilled attorneys who did a very, very good job. They did their job. On the other side of it, Paul Darden and Marcia Clark did not do a very good job, but I also think they were in trouble because of the way LAPD handled the crime scene. And Mark Furman didn't give them any help either on audio using the N-word. It didn't also help that there were some people on the jury that were going to find O.J. Simpson not guilty no matter what. A black juror who used the Black Power sign as he was walking outside the courtroom after the verdict. That guy was never going to find O.J. Simpson guilty. So there were a lot of things stacked up against them. But the Palace Station, if you're unfamiliar with it, the Las Vegas case involving O.J., I think I'd be a little naive if I said that it wasn't a little bit of retribution by people.
What were the charges on that? The specific charges?
Well, O.J. Simpson did not have a gun, but kidnapping was one of the serious charges.
Right.
And his friend did have a gun. And this was orchestrated through OJ. And there was evidence of that. And those that were there testified against OJ. There were deals put in place. And yes, I believe a lot of that had to do with what people thought happened years back.
Yeah, you're talking about retribution. You got like 33 years for
Correct.
that, which
Correct.
is like 15 maybe. But
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
I agree.
Correct. So, the bottom line is I'm not going to be shedding any tears for a disgraced, in my opinion, psychotic murderer. And that's who O.J. Simpson was. Now, I'm going to give you a story, and this happened several years ago. I had Kim Goldman on my show, and in the middle of my show, O.J. Simpson's attorney, Malcolm Laverne, called in, and that was one of the craziest moments of me doing radio. That was kind of wild. But I started talking to O.J.'s attorney, and I was offered to play golf with O.J. Simpson, and I was talking to a lot of different people about it. Some people said you should take the opportunity to do it. Others said you shouldn't.
Probably at Road Ranch, right? He
Yeah.
used to play out there a lot.
Yeah, he did play out there a lot. And I said the only reason why I would do it is to try to get OJ on the radio show. That's the only reason why I would do it. Never ended up happening. And then 2 years ago,
Let me ask you, like, would you have like been tempted for sure? But would you have like, if you're in the same cart with them, right? You're playing golf and blah blah blah, smoking a cigar, and would you like be tempted as a interviewer to say, "Hey, did you do it?"
So I would have been tempted, but I wouldn't have done it because I wanted to get him on the show. If I get him on the show, I would have asked it in a better way. But so anyway, that never happened. And then last year, a friend of mine went to a local cigar bar, and I knew that he was really tight with OJ. And he invited me to this cigar bar, and man, I woke up that morning and I had the flu, man. I was really sick. I was not feeling well at all. And so I called my friend and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it to the cigar bar. So he calls me, Facebook calls me later that day with O.J. Simpson.
Really?
This was last year.
Wow.
And O.J. saying, I hope you feel better. I haven't been feeling too well myself. And I'm, at first I was like kind of in awe because this is O.J. Simpson. And then I felt kind of creepy. It was like Scott Peterson was sending me a message. It was kind of, it felt weird. It's like, do I really want to be talking to this guy? So, but anyway.
Yeah, and like, it's so double-edged sword here because we remember him before all this as just a great football player. At USC and the Heisman Trophy, I actually saw it because I coached at USC.
Right.
And then the great running back in the NFL. But then he also transcended everything by doing one of the first like really sports Hertz commercials, rent a car, running through the airport. That was before everyone's doing it now. And then, I just from Airplane, the movie, in there, and then such a turnaround from really admiring this guy to just what happened is just like, it's not like, oh, well, he did some, it was like a 360 turn.
Yeah, it really is. And now here
or
we
a
are.
180, I'm sorry.
180. And now
I used to do 360 dunks, so I got them confused.
Back in the day, I could see you do it. Of course. But Mo, now OJ dead at the age of 76, and he took it to his grave. Some people thought he would eventually own up. Some people
we
thought,
don't know though, because he was surrounded by his family, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what he might have said, But I hope, the Christian in me hopes he made peace with God and asked for forgiveness and but in reality I think he's what you said he was and probably took it to his grave.
He's psychopath.
Yeah.
And I've always felt for the Goldman family and of course Nicole Brown Simpson, her family. Horrible tragedy what took place years ago. Yep, people can criticize me all you want. I think the world is a better place without O.J. Simpson on the planet. Now we can move on because I'm not going to spend any more time talking about someone who I think is despicable who passed away today. Speaking of despicable, though, for different reasons, the Republican National Convention and Lara Trump have been putting out these robocalls. It went out to almost a couple 100,000 people, I think, over in the last few days. And I want to play you this robocall because it is kind of comical, but par for the course for the Trump family. Have a listen to this.
We all know the problems: no photo IDs, unsecured ballot drop boxes, mass mailing of ballots, and voter rolls chock full of deceased people and non-citizens are just a few examples of the massive fraud that took place. If Democrats have their way, your vote could be canceled out by someone who isn't even an American citizen. And I'm sure you agree with Co-Chair Trump that we cannot allow the chaos and questions of the 2020 election to ever happen again.
Yeah, it's chaos. Last I checked, if you're undocumented, you can't vote in the presidential election.
Of course not.
So I'm not sure what they're talking about there. And all these dead people have voted for. But obviously, there's nothing factual in this robocall. But this is what Lara Trump wants. This is what the MAGAs want: disinformation, lies about the 2020 election, fear mongering, scare tactics to try to get people to vote for Donald Trump. And again, I find it comical and pathetic at the same time.
Yeah, isn't that reverse though? If the Democrats didn't want people to count their votes, wouldn't they won the general election in both elections and lost it in electoral votes? So they actually got more votes.
Right.
But it's so backwards. The most surprising thing about that, if I got that on my phone, you know what I'd be waiting for, right? Please buy a Bible or shoes or whatever, and help us help us make America great again, like the 1800s, like Arizona did.
Yeah, well, isn't that another cup of tea?
Wow.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so they put out this scripted robocall to voters.
Oh, here, Brian, I was thinking about this on the way in, and
Yep.
back when all the fake election, all that stuff was being brought out, wasn't like Trump and all his people, like they would hold up papers and say, we have the facts here, we have the evidence, you will see it in a court of law, but it was just blank papers.
Yeah.
Come on, man, you can't just say anything and make it true.
Well, I mean, the people that are on the far right,
Giuliani,
that go to for information on the 2020 election are the My Pillow idiot and Rudy Giuliani. So I think that says it all. But Lara Trump is the one that's responsible for putting these robocalls
What's her
out there.
title now? She
is the chair of the Republican National
How scary
Committee.
is that?
And this is Lara Trump, and this is her talking specifically about disinformation. Have a listen to this.
Yes, if you want to look at a family, and I'll say a man in Donald Trump who has had nothing but misinformation and disinformation, as they like to say on the other side of the aisle, thrown at him every single day. I mean, there's never been anyone in history, I don't think, that has taken as much incoming as Donald Trump. And yet every day it feels like we are vindicated in so many spaces because at some point, Carl, the truth ultimately comes out.
I find it very funny that Lara Trump is talking about disinformation and truth and trying to associate that truth with Donald Trump and the fact that people are throwing the disinformation at Trump when he still says he won the 2020 election. I find this to be laughable and mesmerizing to me. Mesmerizing that anybody could listen to this crazy lunatic and believe the things she says. Listen to Lara Trump talking about comparing us to Russia.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But this is the game they play. And everyone should pay attention because it is not hyperbole to compare what's going on in this country right now to countries like, Russia, like China, with state-run news. That is what you get whenever you have a stranglehold on the mass media and what people are receiving in terms of information. And you're not giving them real information. You're giving them a slanted viewpoint.
Slanted viewpoint.
It's so fun. And I'm not a political analyst or whatever, but I'm a logical person, right? And I like to hear both sides. So I'll turn on Fox News every once in a while just to see what they're saying about stuff, but I can't really listen that long because it's so much fake information out there on Fox News. And it's interesting to me that someone would say, you know what, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, NBC, all these other ones are wrong and giving us disinformation, but our Fox News is right. They're giving us the right information. It's so mind-boggling.
It is completely mind-boggling, and the entire RNC has turned into the Trump party. The Republican Party is now the Trump party, and they're sending out these robocalls talking about the same lies that Donald Trump has been talking about when it comes to 2020 elections. Donald Trump, by the way, for a third time yesterday, his attorneys tried to delay the hush money case. That's very normal behavior for somebody who's innocent, right?
Well,
Let's just keep delaying.
Well, and take the fifth. Only people that are guilty and take the fifth, and he's taken it like 400 times.
It's
and,
insane.
But you know what? One thing about Trump, he's very experienced, right? I mean, he's went through 4,000 lawsuits.
That's true.
His problem is he's run out of lawyers because most won't work for him because he won't pay them, and the other ones are in jail that try to represent him. I was thinking about this the other day. I met Trump a long time ago, years ago in the mid 80s. We were playing when I was with the Milwaukee Bucks. We were playing Philly in the playoffs, so we had an off day, and some of us went to Atlantic City. And I don't know if it was Trump or Taj Mahal, whatever that casino was we were in, and we ran into Trump and his then wife. And I just remember thinking, wow, she's really professional and really nice. And he's just bombastic and, trying to, it was some of the, Philadelphia players who are famous and me with some Bucks that were famous. He was trying to build himself up around us. It's like, just chill, dude. I just remember that. It sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, and going back to Lara Trump, let's think about this for a minute. This is she is a member of Trump's family, and he puts her in this position. What would they say if Joe Biden did this? What would they say if somebody in Joe Biden's immediate family and he put to direct the head of the DNC? Republicans would be all over it. So let's remember that.
But this is what scares the heck out of me is, I keep saying that, God forbid, if he is elected, the Pello guy's going to be in his, in the White House with him. He's going to have some title. All these people are, because those are the only people that will back him till the end, no matter what happens.
Yeah, there's no question. And I had a conversation late last night with a friend of mine who is supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And we had a conversation about Trump versus Biden and what's going to happen and, who should Trump pick as his vice president, who's going to help him. And I don't know what's going to happen here over the next 6 months. I can tell you that, we have a while still until the elections. And I'm still going to stick by my guns, for lack of a better term. And I'll put it to you this way. I still believe that there are too many reasonable Republicans out there and those in the middle. Maybe they're not huge Joe Biden fans. Maybe Joe Biden's not their first or second or third pick. But they will choose Joe Biden over Donald Trump. Now, I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. I do think it's going to be close. I think the election in November is going to be close. It's not going to be a landslide, for lack of a better term, for either side. I think it's going to be close. I do think that Trump's legal troubles are not going to help him. Some people say, this is going to help him and propel him. I'm not so sure about that. There are some things I want to see from Joe Biden, and there are things I want to see from the Democrat Party that I'm not seeing right now. Now, Joe Biden's in a really tough spot when it comes to Israel. He's in a really you can't have it both ways. Really difficult. Now, I agree with Joe Biden when he says Hamas, terrorist group, Israel has the right to defend themselves. But I also agree when he says Israel has a responsibility for the least amount of innocent civilian casualties. But he's in a really tough spot because then you have those on the extreme left, maybe, that are pro-Palestine. And I say extreme left. I think most middle-grounded Democrats and Republicans are pro-Israel, and they believe Israel has the right to defend themselves. And then you have people, that are so pro-Israel that they don't think they have any duty or responsibility, and Benjamin Netanyahu can do whatever the hell he wants. Now, to me, that's wrong as well. Yes, Hamas started this. They're a terrorist group. I wish the Democrat Party would call out Rashida Tlaib, for example, because that has no place in politics in this country when you vote that you're okay with Hamas coming into this country. I mean, that's just absurd. That's Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib, in my opinion, are beyond extremists and despicable. But at the same time, we can't just let Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and the government do whatever they want with no repercussions either. So that's what I mean when I say, Mo, that Joe Biden's in a really difficult spot.
Yeah, it seems, and we need Israel in that part of the world because they're, as an ally for sure. But we can all see that Israel and their leader is kind of on a revenge tour. Is going across the line and doing some things. There's going to be casualties at war and all that stuff, but it seems to me like he's going above and beyond because they've had this battle for so many years. The problem is, and just like Biden's in a kind of a, he's in a tough situation, and I can see like militarily, if you're Israel, and you can think about this, right? And I don't know if it's fair or not. That Hamas is integrated in hospitals and all these other places. You can't tell someone and when you go in there, you don't know if they're with Hamas or if they're Palestinian. You can't tell. They look the same. So, relatively. So really, if you think about it, we're going to give aid, right? We're going to food and aid and water to the Palestinians. That's great. But guess who gets it along there? The Hamas does, because they're there and they probably control a lot of it. So they get it. So what you're doing is you're trying to help the people of Palestine and help them with food and water and all that stuff. But you're also making your enemy stronger at the same time. So there's that give and take. But, it's just it's a touchy situation. But it seems to me that when Hamas took over Palestine and they took over the government and all that stuff, it caused that problem. But it seems to me that, Israel is taking out their aggression above and beyond what they should be doing.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's I think you can make the argument on both sides, but there's no place for people that are pro-Palestine or call themselves pro-Palestine that are chanting out death to America. There should be no place for that in this country, and that needs to be called out as well. And that's what I say. This is not a good thing for anybody, especially Democrats and Joe Biden. They're put in a very difficult situation right now. It's a difficult spot to be in.
And now here's what put more gasoline on the fire, right?
Right.
When missiles hit the food workers that were there to help and hit their vehicles, and they had been communicating with Israel. Here we're going here and we're going there, and I kind of felt that it was really kind of cold-blooded. After it all happened, Israel and the general, whoever it was, came on and said it was a huge mistake. It's a nightmare and everything. But it looked like he was saying, "My bad." Yeah. When 7 people died, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
That real, and you have the visual of the missile hole in the van, and then their logo, the World Food Group, whatever it is, right next to it. It really,
yeah.
Ooh.
It's horrible. It's a horrible situation. Innocent loss of life. It doesn't matter whether it's in Israel or in Gaza, wherever it is. It's horrible, right? We don't want innocent loss of life. But that said, we have to remember how this started. Yeah. And it started because Hamas butchered a bunch of innocent Israelis on October 7th. Now 6 months have passed, more than 6 months, and innocent people are still dying. There are still hostages that Joe Biden needs to continue to work as hard as he can, which I'm sure he is,
and now
to bring home.
Hamas is saying those 40 people you look for, we don't know where they are.
Yeah, well, I don't believe anything Hamas says.
Yeah.
I think that's a bunch of nonsense. Now, they could have been all murdered. We don't know. Yeah. It's very possible. This is a horrible situation, and I hope and pray that, it ends at some point. But a bad spot for Joe Biden. I do want to open up.
And let's talk, before we open up line, let's talk about Ukraine also. They're still at war with Russia.
Correct.
Right? And we kind of put them on the back burner now. People say, well, why are we're doing this? And why? Because you don't think that Biden's going to stop at Ukraine. Poland's right there. All those other borders that eventually he's going to go after. You can't say that, oh, he's just going to stop there. And, I told this on the show a while ago. We do this. We've done it for years and centuries and whatever. We go and fight on to help other people, so we don't have these battles. What's happening around the world in our it's going to be here on our grounds in our country.
Yeah.
So we will be in that situation. So people I need to realize. You got this isn't checkers. This is chess.
Yeah. No, you're right. And unfortunately, there's a lot of innocent people that have lost their lives that will continue to lose their lives, and it's very sad. We have a lot of problems around the world. Do I blame Joe Biden for that? Absolutely not. If you listen to Republicans, they'll blame him for the war in the Ukraine. Republicans will blame Joe Biden for what took place in Israel, which is obviously absurd. They'll blame Joe Biden for everything, but they don't want to blame even though we had a global pandemic that started under Trump, they certainly don't want to blame Trump for that. But let's blame Joe Biden for all the problems across the world. Guess what? I never blamed Donald Trump for COVID, but I did blame him for the response in this country. I blamed him for the lack of response. But I would never sit here and say, hey, it's Donald Trump's fault that COVID was created in China. Of course I would never say that. But his response was terrible. Let's talk about the response. Let's talk about when something happens throughout the world, how does our president respond to it?
Well, it's all going to go away in the springtime when it gets warmer out.
Yeah, right.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's gonna be gone by Easter. 15 cases down to 0, and let's talk about injecting yourself with disinfectant. I do want to open up the phone lines on this, and we will right now before we take a break. That number is 702-221-7283, and again, that number, if you do want to be a part of the conversation, that number is 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. I talk about immigration a lot on this show. And there are so many good people that come to this country seeking asylum. They want a better life for themselves. They want a better life for their families. And Leo over at Pioneer Air is no exception to that. He came out here with 8 members of his family through the churches from Mexico and took over this company that's been around since the 1930s called Pioneer Air, a very successful company. And with the summer months right around the corner, you want to make sure that your air conditioning system is being worked on or it's working properly. You don't want it to stop working when it's 130 degrees outside. So here's what we're going to do for our listeners. You give them a call right now at 702-703-6346. You're going to get free scheduled maintenance for up to a year. Wow. Let me give out that number one more time. No catch, ladies and gentlemen. Area code 702-703-6346. Pioneer, ask for Leo and tell him you heard about him on this show, and you're going to get free scheduled maintenance for up to a year. Give them a call at Pioneer Air, again, 702-703-6346. We'll take your phone calls on the other side. We got Big Mo in the house.
Good.
You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fun account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council, with a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen. I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. What have we been talking about so far? Well, obviously, the breaking news this morning that O.J. Simpson dead at the age of 76 of cancer. His family members were able to say goodbye to him in Las Vegas, but for Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, their family members were not able to say goodbye. I want you to keep that in mind. We're talking about these robocalls that the RNC has been putting out to a couple 100,000 people yesterday. Lara Trump behind it, spreading lies about the 2020 election, fear-mongering, talking about dead people voting. All lies. Sounded like Mike Lindell when he sells his pillows. I don't know, but we've been talking a little bit about that. We'll get to John Bolton here in a moment because he's now announcing who he's going to be voting for president, which is it's a bizarre pick. I'll put it to you that way. Got Paul McKeskey joining us in studio as well, and I promised that we would be taking some phone calls to start. 702-221-7283. We're going to get some more phone lines here because I'm getting messages from people, as I do every day, that they're getting a busy signal. Well, that's because our phones are usually jammed.
Yeah, you need a couple more.
It's interesting because some of the right-wing hosts in this town who beg for phone calls, they get the same three callers. We get regular callers as well, but we also get new callers
all over
every
the
day
country.
too. Yeah, all over the country. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to compare myself to them. All right, let's go to Barbette. Barbette is first up on Pushing Limits. Hi, Barbette. Where are you calling from?
From Arizona, and I've talked to you twice before. I don't expect you to remember that.
Well, I appreciate you calling in again. What's on your mind today, Barbette?
Well, I thought the subject was, I tried to call yesterday because you were so angry at that doctor because of the misinformation.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you, really. I do not blame you.
Barbette, his head explodes sometimes in here.
But I heard you, but yeah, I just found out, turned on the TV, found out that OJ has passed away. So I got to tell you, some people walk in lockstep. I was in graduate school when that whole thing went down, and I was aware, and I was living in California then, I was aware that I would say about 75 to 80% of the African-American community stood behind him. All I can tell you is that had I been on that jury, well, we would have been fighting in there,
yeah,
okay?
I know you would have. But you know what I think it was, and you could tell me if you disagree with me. I think, and I don't think I know, a lot of black people in this country frustrated, as they still are, with our justice system, and they looked at
Absolutely.
it as this is our retribution, even though we might think that he did it. We want him to walk out scot-free, and that's exactly what happened. And then he was found civilly liable in the civil suit months later. But I'm not sure that would go down the same way today. And I'm not saying that, obviously, if you listen to the show, Barbette, I'm on your side when if it comes to systemic racism or issues facing the black
Absolutely.
community, I'm on your side 150%.
Yeah.
But if somebody commits a heinous crime, and I think we all could agree decades ago, decapitating your ex-wife and killing an innocent Ronald Goldman as well, it doesn't get much worse than that. In my personal opinion, the evidence was overwhelming. And the reason why he was found not guilty is because of idiots like Mark Furman, who's a racist, and members of the LAPD police department who did not do their job properly. Evidence was planted, but there was also evidence that was overwhelming. The shoe footprints, the DNA evidence, where he was at that time. We know he was there. If he didn't do it, which I believe he did, but at a minimum,
I do too.
If he didn't, he knows who did, and he was certainly on the scene of the crime. Maybe he wasn't alone, but I leave it at this. As I told Mo earlier, you're not going to see me shedding any tears for this guy who I think was a murderer and a psychopath, and the world is a better place without O.J. Simpson on the planet.
Absolutely. I remember, and I understand, that was right after Rodney King.
Correct.
And so to sit in our homes and watch, when Rodney's passed away now, he finally,
right.
he almost junked himself out because of the pain after that beating.
Right.
So it was a combination of a lot of hell. But I tell you this, when OJ went to the black community in Los Angeles and started making nice, my first thought was, you son of a... No, I'm not going to cuss.
SOB.
You person, you had never given a damn about us.
No, that's the thing. You're absolutely right.
Now
Selfish.
you're going to come to a black church and kiss babies and stuff?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you?
OJ didn't do anything for the black community. He only did things.
Did not.
He was an elitist. He only did things for himself and himself only. I feel horrible for the Goldman family and, of course, Nicole Brown Simpson and her loved ones. Terrible situation. And I don't know what it's like growing up as the son or daughter of OJ, knowing, and they have to know this, that their father is a murderer. Barbette, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your call. You stay safe there in Arizona, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to JD. JD is next on Pushing the Limits. Hello, JD.
Hello. Thanks for the time, guys. I think you guys might be a little hard on Israel. As you can recall, they have been at war for 75 years. The day after they became a country, 7 Arab countries invaded them. The Yom Kippur War of 72. They have been barraged by terrorists for over 75 years. History shows that when we were in World War II, we bombed the heck out of Dresden, Germany, calculating 100,000 civilian deaths. We also firebombed Tokyo in the Second World War, hundreds of thousands of people before we dropped the 2 bombs.
Okay, so JD, let me just interject real quickly here and say this. I don't disagree with you. All I said was Israel does have a responsibility to do whatever they can to limit civilian casualties.
I agree with you, and I think they are.
Yeah, that's all I said.
I think they are doing that. Now, in regard to the 7 aid workers, in Afghanistan, when we withdrew, we bombed a father and 7 or 8 of his children in a station wagon delivering water by mistake. We bombed the Chinese. Barack Obama bombed the Chinese embassy, I believe, in Syria, and a drone strike on 62 civilians in another Sudan and another 40 civilians somewhere else in another Mideast country. This is all part of war.
I'm not saying this has never happened before, and I'm not saying what Israel did was intentional because I don't believe it was. What I'm simply saying over again, and by the way, echoing the same thing that Joe Biden has said, was Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel have a responsibility to limit to be responsible and limit the amount of innocent civilian casualties. And I also said Joe Biden's in a very difficult spot. Joe Biden is pro-Israel. He said time and time again, Israel has the right to defend themselves. Listen, the bottom line is this: if Israel dropped all their guns and said, "Okay, we're done now," Israel would cease to exist. Hamas would wipe them off the face of the planet.
And that's what I think Netanyahu is trying to prevent. If this was us, don't you think we'd be fighting to the last man? Netanyahu is a combat veteran. He understands war. He was in on the raid of Entebbe when his brother was the only casualty when they rescued a couple of hundred Jews.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the Israeli government dealing with this has been perfect, because they haven't. They've made mistakes.
Of course they haven't been perfect.
Okay,
Neither has any other country at war.
I understand. Let Joe Biden hold them accountable. They've been speaking with one another, which is a good thing.
Joe Biden has nothing to do with Israel's defense.
What do you mean? Look at all the
millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
You're telling me we've given hundreds of millions of dollars to the government, but Joe Biden doesn't have any say? That's a little ridiculous.
When I think when you're fighting for your survival and you have competent, and I think you'll agree, Israel has a very competent military because, as I said, from day one they've been fighting for 75 years for survival.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, JD, and I do appreciate your call. All I would simply say, and what Mo echoed, is that we've given tons of money, and I don't have a problem with that, in allowing Israel to defend themselves. So to say that we don't have any say, or Joe Biden doesn't have any say, again, is a little bit ridiculous, and I disagree with that assertion. I agree with everything else you said, but I just disagree with that. One phone line open, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julian. Hi, Julian.
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Good.
Hey, Julian.
So, hey, how you doing, boss?
Good.
So, OJ didn't die from cancer, but I did hear that cancer say it will not rest until it finds what did kill OJ.
Yeah, well, yeah. Listen, I feel about O.J. Simpson similarly, even though I know Rush Limbaugh wasn't a murderer. But Rush Limbaugh died of cancer, and I wasn't shedding any tears the day he died either. And listen, I don't feel any sort of pain for bad people that lose their life. I'm sorry, I just don't. I choose not to.
No, yeah. Again, that was an attempted subtle joke at the fact that like OJ claimed that he was going to go and try to find the killer. Anyway, but so I agree with you with the fact that Israel 1,000% has a right to defend itself. But I also agree that it does not mean that we cannot criticize for the actions that they take in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
With that, and Joe Biden, but I don't think that this is necessarily going to impact him in the election, and that's because voters have a really, really short memory, and there's a lot of time, and and Biden is getting pissed, and he is basically he's going more and more public with a lot of what he was doing like behind the scenes, and he is taking actions that are I don't want to say more extreme, but like stronger handed. But then also there's other things that are happening, like the dock that is getting built in Gaza to bring in aid. Things, something that's just objectively good to get to people who are.
I got to tell you this, though. I got to tell you something. I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who has a lot of money. He's been one of the biggest Democrat donors, on the planet for many years, and he makes a good point. Where is the Democrat leadership in calling out Rashida Tlaib and Bush? Where is the outrage when Tlaib never seems to call out Hamas and only attacks Israel and the Israeli government? Where is the outrage? That has no place in our politics. Listen, I get it. There are far more extremists on the right. Don't get me wrong. Most of the Democrats are pro-Israel, and they're on the right side of history on this issue. But where are the Hakeem Jeffries and those in the Democrat leadership calling out the extremist? And yes, I do believe Rashida Tlaib is an extremist. Where are they? I just feel like there needs to be more Democrat leadership that call out that sort of anti-Israel rhetoric.
I agree. Yes, her rhetoric is absolutely ridiculous. But again, like sometimes I guess I'm betting if they talk to a media consultant about proper messaging and what it's going to take to get voters, there's probably a cold calculation that may not be the right thing from like a human perspective, but it's probably do we really want to shine more light onto this, or do we want to let this one person shout, kind of ignore it, and let them be, the angry child in the corner while they have no realistic.
Well, my opinion, I agree with you, and by the way, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. I think that extremists on both sides of the aisle need to go, but somebody made a moral equivalency, or maybe not a moral equivalency, but that there's extremists on both sides. And I said, if you look at 2024, where are most of the extremists? They ain't coming from the left; they're coming from the right. And these anti-Israel protests, you don't know what these people political affiliations are. Everybody assumes, they're all liberals, they're all Democrats. No, they might just be all idiots that are anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. Some of these people might not even vote. So it gets me kind of angry when you see some of these protests and people will assume that they're all Democrats. How do we know that all those people on January 6th were MAGA supporters and righties? Because they all had their day in court and their social media was presented in courtrooms. Many of those people were part of far-right fringe groups. That's how we know they were MAGA supporters and they weren't Antifa. But if you want to go in there and you want to look at the social media of all these protesters that you claim are liberal and on the left, then have at it. But I haven't seen any proof of that.
Yeah, and I really agree with you, Brian. If we're going to hold Republicans accountable to speaking out on, Trump and MAGAs and the wrong things they're saying. We need to do the same on the Democratic side. And,
Sure.
If someone is saying something, that is not right, people need to step up and say something, or else you're just agreeing with them by not saying anything.
Agree 150%. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Julie, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Mo wanted me to take your call today, Julie, so there you go. Thank Mo.
Julie, I thought everything, the clips and everything, and then you and Brian agreeing on something was a sign, I think.
Thank you. How are you today?
Good. What's on your mind, Julie?
Well, I am, Brian, today I'm very, very concerned because I wake up to the news that we have a lot of NGOs being funded with taxpayer money that are flying illegals. They are coming to Turkey, Havana, Cuba, then Suriname, Panama, all the way up to our country. I'm concerned. And I called several congressmen today because I said, people, we are losing our country. We have to start working together because I experienced communism in Cuba 24 years. I told you, Brian. I know that people need to live, to experience, to know the signs and symptoms. So we don't want communism.
Okay, but hold on a second. I was at a Republican event yesterday, believe it or not. I was invited, and I went to this event to mingle with some people that are running for office, and there were a lot of very nice people there. But one person asked a question and said, we need to bring our country back. We need to save our country. Last I checked, while we have issues in this country and everything's not perfect, we still have our country, and even if we have undocumented people coming in, why do people characterize it as we're losing our country? We still have the same freedoms in this country, whether they're here or not. So why do you use the term where we need to save our country? Our country is still here. I don't understand that statement.
Well, no, not necessarily. The thing is that the problem has been aggravating because what is happening right now is unusual. We haven't had this massive illegal immigration in years, and this is a problem, Brian, and it's my concern, and I think it's your concern as well. These people need
okay, but hold on. There's a difference. But hold on. There's a difference between concern and doing what so many Republicans do. So many people on the far right, like Donald Trump, make claims that these people are animals. He makes claims that they're going to rape your kids. And the bottom line is, per capita, you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime. These are the stats. This isn't my opinion. You have a better chance of being the victim of a crime of someone who is documented than someone who is undocumented. There are some people coming into this country illegally that are bad people. Obviously, I don't want them here. But the overwhelming majority of these people, like it or not, are not bad people that are going to commit serious crimes, and I don't like that rhetoric.
That, Brian?
Because of the statistics from the FBI. Look at the statistics of those that are undocumented that are committing crimes.
I was watching the FBI director today, Ray, and I have been watching Mallorca. They don't know.
Okay, so Julie, here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. We do know.
I want to ask you something.
Okay, but before you ask me, here's what I want you to do to answer your own question. Look at the latest FBI statistics, which track if someone is arrested and convicted of a crime, whether they are undocumented or not. And then you can get back to me. But the latest statistics show you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime from someone who is legal than someone who is not legal. So go ahead and ask your question.
When communism take over, what are you going to do?
What are you talking about?
What is going to be your job?
What are you talking about?
Why would be your job?
Why would you ask that question?
Because the middle class is being destroyed, and the middle class is the
that's why we don't want Trump elected, because that's what he's going to do. He's told you that.
Do you understand that? Do you understand that Donald Trump? Listen to me. Do you understand that Donald Trump, the man who you support, who I know you think is a lovely man, gave the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in the history of this country? He just spoke to a bunch of billionaires. Hey, guess what? I spoke to one of those billionaires yesterday who was at the event at Mar-a-Lago. He promised all of them huge tax cuts. So don't talk to me about how you're so concerned about the middle class and yet you want to vote for the guy who doesn't care about the middle class. Go take a look at Mar-a-Lago. He will not allow people like you and me there.
Calm down.
It's
Guys,
called
you have
passion.
never
It's
experienced
called
a
passion.
dictator. Trump imposed sanction on Cuba. I saw it because I'm Cuban.
What policies?
You need to listen to Cuban.
Name me a policy that Donald Trump implemented. Name me a couple policies. Let's go with two. That helped. Hold on. Let me finish the question. That helped poor and middle class America.
Well, he lowered my taxes.
No, he didn't. How much? No, he didn't. You don't know what you're talking about.
Course.
How much money do you make?
Taxes, I wash my face.
Do you make under $125,000 a year? Because if you do, he did not lower your taxes, Julie. I appreciate your phone call. I got to get to some other callers. That is fake news, Mo. That's fake news.
And one of the other things, like immigration problem, is around the world, and there's a reason for that, because situations in other countries around the world, which are just terrible anywhere around the world, those people are fleeing those countries and going into not only our country, but countries all over the world that are better off. And, to say that, we're going to become Russia, if Trump gets elected, we're in that direction.
I mean, I just don't understand that logic that people believe that if they're making, under $100,000 a year, that somehow Donald Trump lowered their taxes. That's factually inaccurate. You could just look that up if you don't believe me. Donald Trump gave some of the biggest tax breaks to the billionaires and the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies in his presidency.
And what did Biden do? Erased a lot of student loan.
Correct.
Right?
And he continues to do that.
Which helps the middle class.
It helps the poor. It helps the middle class. It helps those that are struggling. And guess who the people are that are against the student loan debt? Many of them are Republicans, not Democrats.
Well, you could have gone to Trump University and wait, that folded, and they were charged for falsifying records.
Yeah, but you could get a cardboard cutout picture of Donald Trump. Did you see this, by the way, before we get back to the calls at 702-221-7283? Yesterday, Donald Trump shows up at a Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
And by the way, I was speaking to people that live in Atlanta, friends of mine that live in Georgia. Donald Trump got less than 13% of the black vote in Georgia. And yet we're led to believe that he just randomly shows up in this fast food, and every black person in there loves Donald Trump. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not buying it. But let's be led to believe by MAGA World that one black woman gives Donald Trump a hug. So that must mean that Donald Trump has the support of all black people in this country. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. It is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous, actually. I'm going to call it insane.
They do have a great shakes, though. The Oreo shakes. Ooh.
He bought 30 shakes. I don't know. This might be fake news. I heard a rumor he drank them all himself. I don't know if that's true.
That's what people say.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
So that means it's real.
It must be real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but hey, one black woman gives him a hug, so that, it must be true that all black people support Donald Trump. I mean, are people really that stupid that they believe this?
What would have happened if she didn't? He said, hey, come give me a hug. What if she didn't do it?
I think that would have been great.
That would have been awesome.
But yeah, let's just be led to believe that every black person, supports Donald Trump.
And the middle class, because he gave us such great tax breaks.
Yeah, and by the way, he used those 30 milkshakes to all you morons out there that have donated money to his campaign. You think he took it out of his own pocket? Give me a frickin' break. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Roy. Roy's next. What's up, Roy? Roy, are you there? Roy, lower your volume. Go ahead, Roy.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
I'm an accountant, and let me straighten Julie out on a couple of factors. Number one, the billionaires and the giant corporations got the biggest tax breaks when Trump was in office. He's worried that he's losing some of his donors, so he's promising these billionaires more tax breaks. The biggest tax gimmick in this country is the unrealized gains they make on their investments. They don't pay any tax on that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
What he also did was, and again, it varies based on what state you live in, he capped the tax write-off at $10,000. So if you're in New York or California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, those states did not benefit at all in any way, shape, or form. The only thing, and the Republicans now also want to eliminate the child tax care credit, which helps about the 16 million poorest families in this country.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what the Republicans and Trump do. The only thing he did that was a little bit decent was he did increase the standard deduction.
Yeah.
Which meant a lot more people didn't have to worry about itemizing their tax return, and maybe got somewhat of a benefit by that. Yeah. But on the other hand, he also took away the personal exemption. So if you have 3 children, you didn't get to write them off anymore.
Yes, correct.
Those exemptions disappeared. The bottom line is they never do anything to help the average or lower income people in this country.
Yeah, and that's my concern. The rich get richer, right? The poor get poorer.
Yeah,
and I want people in office that are going to help those that are struggling.
The income inequality in this country is staggering and gets worse and worse and worse every year.
So what would you say to somebody like Julie who calls in and believes, not true, but believes that Trump lowered her taxes? What would you say to somebody like that?
Take a course in taxation and see where the problem areas are.
You know what really scares me too is I'm old. I'm 67. So when they're talking about,
you're not old because I'm older.
When they're talking about messing with our Social Security, right? And they're talking about rearranging stuff and doing this. Wait a minute. Wait. That's my money I put in over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to mess with it because you think you can?
I hate when they call it an entitlement, but it is. You're entitled to it. You paid for the damn thing.
It's my money.
Of course you're entitled to it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's scary. But that's what Trump, people like Trump, that's what they do. They play with other people's money, not their own, other people's.
And it's very easy to fix the Social Security system in this country. First off, to charge people 6.2% on people making $30,000, $40,000 a year, that in itself is criminal. The fact is, once you reach income of $168,000, you don't put into Social Security anymore. Why not have from 168 to say 400,000? You don't pay any more Social Security. Once you're over 400,000, how about a 2% surcharge?
I'm for it. I'm for, but
and you'd erase all these problems.
Yeah, but the Republicans have been complaining about how minimum wage is raising, but yet they don't want to do anything to help those that are poor and those in the middle class. If you have a problem with raising minimum wage, then talk to me, Republicans, about how you're going to help the poor and middle class. Roy, I appreciate your phone call. Good call.
Thanks,
appreciate
Roy.
you.
All right.
What should we do here? Take a few more calls before we go to break. Coming up, by the way, next segment, we're going to be talking about who's John Bolton. Supporting for president. It might surprise you. Let's go to Nelson. Nelson's next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Nelson.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, man? What's on your mind?
The Republican Party. Well, let me back this up. I think the entire tax code needs to be scrapped, redone, more simple. Close all these damn loopholes that these people are taking advantage of. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of money is not being collected in tax revenue.
Right.
Billions of dollars. And the IRS just doesn't have the funding to go after those that need to pay those taxes, for the multi-billionaires. And for the little person, they give the little person so much grief, and yet you have millions upon hundreds of millions of dollars not being collected from the top 1% in taxes. It's been documented.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Because I don't know the answer. And I remember, I don't know when it happened, but wasn't there a time when we had a flat rate tax back in the day? I can't remember, but I wonder how that turned out. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I can't say for sure on that. I mean, I'll have to do some research on that.
What I will say when it comes to taxes, when you look at what Bill Clinton did, and listen, I don't defend Bill Clinton with any of his personal behavior, but I will say this. He was able to reach across the aisle. He was able to help the poor and the middle class. He left with a surplus. Can you find me a Republican? It wasn't George W. Bush. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Donald Trump. Can you find me a Republican that left office with a surplus? Can you also look at the economy that Donald Trump took over? Now, I understand that COVID hurt a lot of people and it killed our economy. But you also have to put blame on Trump for the economy he left Joe Biden with his response to COVID. Why is it when you look at housing, when you look at inflation, when you look at all the parameters that we compare ourselves to for the most part to other countries, Democrats, when they win the presidency, take over a pile of excrement. And then Barack Obama, in 8 years, is able to turn the economy around and leave Trump with a really, really good economy. Now, if you want to give Trump credit for not ruining the economy before COVID. Okay.
He did add $7 trillion to the deficit.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Look at all the, they want to say, oh, Democrats, are not fiscally responsible. Listen to what Nikki Haley said, which is, by the way, I appreciate she said this, on a debate stage several months back, where she said, we've got to stop blaming Democrats. We got to blame ourselves, where the proposals are 3 times higher than what Democrats have put in place. Look at the money that Republicans are spending compared to Democrats in office.
And the last thing I'll say is in regards to Social Security. Now, Social Security has an income limit as to what you can be taxed on. I think it's like $150 something thousand. And then so if you make more than that, income that qualifies with that, you're not going to get taxed on that.
Right.
So I think they need to take out that limit, because the vast majority of Americans are literally surviving paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
They're just not making enough, and the burden shouldn't be on the vast majority. When you have multi-billionaires, they're making all this money. Social Security can generate so much income if you take away that limit. So I think Congress needs that.
You're right. And we need to listen to the far right when people like Mike Lee, who claim they don't want to get rid of Social Security but are caught on tape saying they want to get rid of it to his constituents. We need to listen to some of these Republicans when they say they're going to do it, because some of them do want to get rid of Social Security, Medicare, and I appreciate your phone call. Thank you so much. All right, so here's what we are going to do. We're going to take some more phone calls on the other side. We are going to take a quick break. We got Big Mo in the house. And when we come back, Mo, who's John Bolton voting for president? Well, his answer might surprise you. I'm going to give you a hint. It's not me. But I'm going to give you.
It's not me.
I'm going to give you a hint. It's not you. It's not me. And it's not Joe Biden, and it's not Donald Trump. Yeah, as Chris Wynn would say. So we'll give you that when we come back. I also want to tell you guys about my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Mo, I've been out there a couple times in the last week. Some of the best lunches I've ever had are at Jackson's.
Fettuccine Alfredo, baby.
Yes,
Can't beat it.
Is there anything better than enjoying yourself, sitting down, watching a game, playing a little video poker, and eating a wonderful lunch or dinner? The food there is fantastic. It is delicious. Tell them I sent you. Brian Slipbach, owner, and his beautiful wife, Robin, do a wonderful job.
And all the bartenders are awesome.
They are really, really nice.
And
there.
the waitresses.
And very personable people. And it's just a fun, it's my favorite gaming bar in town, hands down. Nothing even comes close to it. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with your calls at 702-221-7283. Talk a little John Bolton when we come back. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman. former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council, with a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen. I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Hey, programming notes. The Mooch is going to be joining us tomorrow. That's right. Anthony Scaramucci is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. I know that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to be getting some life coaching live on the air tomorrow by Nicole Mitchell. So I know that's going to be fun as well. Maybe not so much fun for me, but fun for everybody else listening. So, yeah, fun to get the Mooch on. The Mooch, who is openly said on this show that he is going to be campaigning with Joe Biden. So somebody who lasted, is it 12 days, 13 days as the press secretary to Donald Trump. So he'll be joining us on the show tomorrow. So, Mo, John Bolton's worked in a number of different administrations. He is a staunch Republican. He has been very critical of Donald Trump, but he's also been very critical of Joe Biden. So
Didn't he call him like one of the most dangerous people to our democracy?
He did.
Like that? Yeah.
He did, but he's not a fan of Joe Biden either. He did an interview with Caitlin Collins on CNN yesterday, and I have a serious issue with who he's going to be voting for. Have a listen to this. Here's John Bolton, in his own words, asked and said publicly for the first time who he voted for in 2020 and who he plans to vote for in 2024.
Well, I might as well say it now. I voted for Dick Cheney.
Wow.
And I'll vote for Dick Cheney again this November.
You'll write in Dick Cheney.
That's right.
What made you write him in?
Because he was a principled Reaganite conservative, and he still is. Age is no longer a factor in American presidential politics, so his age doesn't disqualify him. And I think he'd do an immensely better job than either Trump or Biden.
I got to tell you, I am so disappointed with that answer. First of all, when you talk about all the waterboarding that took place, which a lot of people blame Dick Cheney for, you talk about the war in Iraq, a lot of people, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but let's be honest here, with Halliburton and no weapons of mass destruction, so many people died, so many innocent civilians died, American soldiers died. Why? We found Saddam Hussein with a pellet gun and a candy bar in a hole in the ground. He was not a threat to this country. Am I glad that Saddam Hussein is no longer alive? Of course I am. Evil dictator. But he was not a threat to this country. We should have never gone to war in Iraq, and they used 9/11 as an excuse. And I believe Dick Cheney and those like him profited tremendously off this war. It was a complete debacle. And the fact that John Bolton, with his experience, would sit here and say, and by the way, Dick Cheney, he's writing him in. Dick Cheney doesn't want to be president. The fact that he would write him in, you're giving the opportunity for Donald Trump to win.
Why won't you write in Liz Cheney?
So she asked that question. She asked that question as a follow-up.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I like Liz Cheney. I respect her. But he also said, I believe, in his answer, that maybe down the road she could be a great president. But right now, he's going with Dick Cheney. I just find this to be absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah, and the problem, you're not a fan of Biden, but So you don't want to vote for Trump. So you're going to put, back in the day when they had 15 rounds in the NBA draft, teams used to draft Mickey Mouse, Superman, just because to write in a name.
Yep.
But in this situation, if you're writing in someone else's name, you're taking a vote away from Biden.
Yeah.
So, and you're helping Trump. So, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, it is. I'm really listen, I like the fact that John Bolton at least calls out Donald Trump for who he is. I appreciate that about Mr. Bolton. Obviously, he's a very capable, intelligent, experienced man. But the fact that he's going to be voting for Dick Cheney, he knows that as a write-in, Dick Cheney doesn't want to be president. It's between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Stop it with this RFK Jr. stuff. It's between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. You're telling me you wouldn't vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump when you know who Donald Trump is, you've said who he is, and the threat.
You've been in the room.
Yeah,
You've
so
seen
that's
it.
quite shocking to me. I want to play you some audio of something that is a little more lighthearted. We've been talking about a lot of serious topics here on the show, and I do make fun of those on Fox News on occasion, the Jesse Waters of the world and the Sean Hannitys of the world and the evil racist witch and Laura Ingraham. So I want you to listen to
Don't
Kayleigh.
sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
Just
I'll try. I'll try not to. Kayleigh McEnany, who is Donald Trump's former press secretary, as I mentioned, we have the mooch on tomorrow. So Kayleigh McEnany is trying to make the case of who's the real racist here. Look at all the black people that are hanging around Donald Trump at his big event at Mar-a-Lago. So I want you to listen to this, and then I want you to listen to somebody who happens to be black. Okay, I'm talking about Miss Faulkner, who happens to be a black conservative, staunch conservative, who is an anchor on Fox News. And listen to what she says and listen to what Kayleigh McEnany says when she names some of these people. Think about it.
The talking points were lies. I mean, who was the racist that was there? The people at the fundraiser, Tim Scott was there, Vivek Ramaswamy, the owner of the Jets, Woody Johnson was there, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, Steve Wynn. Like, these are
You know what
mainstream
he's saying,
folks.
right?
Yeah, it was just a lie. It was a lie that he wanted to go out on MSNBC and there's no accountability there, so he could do it. But to your point, Kennedy, I think it's an important one. I saw a clip of Biden going, I'm the party of grassroots. That picture with 3 presidents, $100,000. The tickets went for upwards of $500,000. I'd love to know how many billionaires were at Radio City, because I've got to guess a lot of people with pocket change, $500,000 to shell out on a ticket to see Obama and Biden. Got to guess you're somewhere close to a billionaire or somewhere hundreds of millions of dollars. And Trump doubled the fundraising record, essentially. Pretty big deal.
There you go. I want to say this. So they bring out the black surrogate to talk about racism, because apparently the people that you just listed on that list, they're all black, but they're not Democrats.
I have some news for Miss Faulkner, who obviously is an ignorant clown. Last I checked, Woody Johnson is very white. He's not black. I know Steve Wynn. I've spoken to Steve Wynn before. I can tell you from firsthand accounts, Steve Wynn might be blind, and I'm sorry for that, but he's certainly not black. What is Faulkner talking about? What is she talking about when she says all those people are black? Is she literally that ignorant? Did she grossly misspeak? How can you be that stupid?
And to say, well, there's all these billionaires giving a lot of money. Good. I would rather have billionaires giving money to someone that they believe in, that they can afford to give, than taking $60 from people that can't afford to pay it to buy a Bible that you can get for free on the internet.
Amen. Yeah.
My head almost exploded.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. By the way, I spoke to a friend of mine yesterday who was at this very event at Mar-a-Lago with these billionaires, and he told me right then and there that, yes, there maybe less than 1% of the people that were in that room happened to be black. So can we just stop it with this nonsense? And how can forget about even Faulkner, who said something so dumb. Where was everybody else on the panel? Oh, no, Miss Faulkner, Steve Wynn's not black. Woody Johnson's not black.
Yeah, because you can go on the other channel and say whatever you want, and they don't hold you accountable. But you can say something so stupid as that, and no one on the panel says anything.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Steve Wynn. Maybe he's got a little bit of black in him. I don't know. But anyway, Miss Faulkner, the least you could do is apologize and say, hey, I misspoke. You're an idiot, but you could at least say that, which, by the way, she hasn't done. And speaking of
I can see Saturday Night Live doing a spoof on that and having her say that and then putting the pictures of the people that she said.
It really is mesmerizing. By the way, for the record, I will say my first girlfriend did tell me that I was black in another life. That I don't know what that means, but she
I
did
don't
say
know.
that.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah,
but
she did say that to
you
me. I
need
don't know.
you need life skills.
Yeah,
You need
I'm very white, though. I'm very white. Speaking of Woody Johnson, who, according to Miss Faulkner's black, interesting, the owner of the Jets, who has a lot of money. He's a big MAGA moron. And Mr. Johnson was at Mar-a-Lago for this big fundraising event with all these other billionaires who apparently all were black, according to Fox News. I want you to listen to what Woody Johnson says in regards to Donald Trump's character. Have a listen to this.
And I think the world will be a safer and better place. There'll be less crime. He's extremely compassionate. People don't know that. He's extremely funny. I think people are starting to appreciate his sense of humor. And he just impressed all of us once again. And I think, the overwhelming thought was, this is just the beginning for us. Everybody in that room was ready to step up hard.
You're right on one thing, though. I'll give him credit for this. When he said Trump's compassionate, people don't know that. You're right. People don't know that because he's not compassionate, you frickin' idiot. Is there any normal person with an IQ over 20 that's not completely biased and complicit like this out-of-touch moron who happens to have a lot of money, Woody Johnson, that would characterize Donald Trump as compassionate? All the people that have worked for Donald Trump, all the people that have been in his cabinet for the most part, all the people that have been underneath Donald Trump. Is there anybody that have called him compassionate?
No one's ever used that word to describe
What is
him.
he talking about?
It's so silly. You know what? But here's the defense of that. Maybe he's compassionate if you're a billionaire that can give him some money.
Yeah.
Maybe he's funny to a billionaire that can give you some money. Maybe that's true. But it's just frightening what people say. And you know what? If you're, Trump has been doing this for so long. He's good at it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing it since all his companies went bankrupt back in the day and saying how he's a billionaire when he's really not. He's going to show his taxes and he really doesn't do it. So he's really good at what he does. So he can probably, a lot of people like that can act compassionate and funny at the right time to the right people. That doesn't mean that they are.
And listen, you hit the nail on the head right there when you said, he can be compassionate or appear to fake it and be compassionate and be affable to people that are billionaires. The dinner event that he had at Mar-a-Lago, a $250,000 a plate dinner event where I guess you get to take a picture with Orange Man. And I guess Eric Trump, I heard that Eric Trump was there. Kimberly Guilfoyle was there. Don Jr.
Was Trump's wife there? Was she there?
No.
Yeah.
Well, from my understanding, Melania Trump was not there. Where's Melania? I don't know.
She's with her lawyers now saying, should we get the divorce now before the court dates, or should we get it afterwards?
Mamo, can you imagine for any woman that has any sense of moral compass, any sense of clarity, any sense of respect for themselves. Can you imagine what Melania Trump is going to be going through here in the next several weeks? Particularly when Stormy Daniels takes a stand talking about how they had unprotected sex while months after Barron was born. Now, we know that Melania, it's obvious, there's some sort of contractual obligation where she makes a few appearances here and there. I would be willing to venture a guess that Melania, the last time she was even intimate with Donnie was when they conceived Barron. They don't sleep in the same bed. They're not even in the same city.
You can see when she has to be there, she doesn't want to be there. You can see that. Like when I played in the NBA, in your contract, you had X amount of appearances you had to make for the team, wherever they sent you to a children's hospital or whatever. Right. Now, most guys like me or whatever, let's go more. Some guys really didn't want to go and didn't want to be there. And you could tell the difference between the two. Mm-hmm. And she is the person that's at an event that doesn't want to be there.
You're so right, body language. And by the way, that's unfortunate to hear that there were NBA players that didn't want to be involved in the community and doing it. I would think most people do.
Most do.
Yeah.
But those guys are like, man, you know what? I want to go hang out with my, play golf or whatever. I don't want to, there's a few of those guys, but you could pick them out. If you knew what you're looking at these events when we went to Children's Hospital or whatever, you could pick out the people like me who wanted to be there and help the parents, talk to the parents, and the guy that's, smiling at a kid and then leaving as soon as he can. And that's what she is.
Yeah, that's exactly who Melania Trump is. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say nice things about Melania Trump either. She decided to marry this guy. I'm sure it was just for his lavish good looks. I'm sure that's why she married him.
Well, he's 6'2", 215, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
what a beautiful body.
Yeah, and a great golf swing, I heard.
Yeah, what a wonderful golfer.
That's
he
what
is.
people tell me.
You know, that's another thing too. We got the Masters this week, and Jack Nicklaus, who I'm
that's disappointing.
I am so, we got a guy, Jack Nicklaus, who's arguably the best to ever live. Him and Tiger, put him right up there. And here's a guy who gives fake trophies to the Orange Man, who was the biggest MAGA supporter out there. And I am so disappointed in Jack Nicklaus. It's like,
it was really because it's a fake trophy, right?
Of course,
he didn't play anybody, and he probably took 8 million mulligans, but that really disappointed me to see him in that situation. It really did.
Yeah, and that's Jack Nicklaus for you. And I'm at that point now, Mo, where it's like you can't just say, "Well, I liked some of Donald Trump's policies." Guess what? That doesn't fly anymore with me. That doesn't fly anymore. You wanted to make that excuse in 2020, whatever, even though I disagree with you. But guess what? That doesn't fly with me now. Do I think if Donald Trump wins, it's going to be the end of our democracy? No. I'm not going to take that approach. He'll be a terrible president for 4 years. The horrible rhetoric will continue. But then 4 years down the road, we will have another election. No.
Here's a problem, though. Like he didn't want to leave last time. Will he be able to not leave this time? And I'm getting ready to go see a movie on Saturday called Civil War with this scenario kind of happening. And, I told people, that he learned what he can and can't do last time. And now he's going to have the people in place now, Pello Guy and all those people that, there's going to be decisions had to be made by generals and people up on the staff at the point of, I don't want to leave. I'm not leaving. I want to serve four more years.
It's a good point. I get what you're saying. I'm just not one of the. Do I think that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy? Absolutely. Do I think it'll be the end of our democracy? Probably not. I'm not going to take that approach, but I will say this. And I've been pretty clear on this. I don't want to see another 4 years of this guy. I've just had it. I've had it with him, and I've had it with so many of his supporters. I've had it with so many of his supporters that are so complicit, and all they want to talk about are the gender ideology issues and illegals. And I've just had it with them. The culture wars. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm very disappointed in John Bolton. I'm not surprised that Fox News and idiots like Faulkner, who obviously probably don't even know who Woody Johnson is and probably don't even know who Steve Wynn is, characterizing them as black.
That's so
These are the people that Fox News hires. I mean, it's just unbelievable. At a minimum, say, I misspoke. Or at a minimum, have somebody pass them a note that say, hey, these guys aren't black. But it's really mesmerizing that a guy like a Woody Johnson, and not surprising, a billionaire, because that's why these billionaires are there, because they know it's money in their pocket. If they donate $500,000, they know they're going to make 50-fold back. If they donate $5 million, they're going to make money back on that investment. That's the way they look at it. If Trump wins, they win, because they're going to save hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's really what it comes down to. Do you see him catering to middle-class people? Sure, he'll go into a fast food restaurant like Chick-fil-A and buy 30 milkshakes and some chicken sandwiches for people, and then all of a sudden some want to make him out to be a hero for doing so. But I have to believe that when people hit the voter ballot boxes in November, there are going to be those billionaires that are going to vote for Donald Trump. Yes, there are going to be those right-wing zealots that are going to vote, the evangelicals that are going to vote for Trump. Yes, there are going to be those staunch Republicans that are going to vote for Trump. But there's going to be too many Americans that are not billionaires, too many Americans that are in the middle or reasonable Republicans that will not be voting for Donald Trump in November. I still believe that.
Here's what we're going to do, Brian. We're going to have a blue hat that says anybody but Trump on it. And then we're going to make some flags and drive around with flags that say Trump on it. And we're going to turn this thing around, I'm telling you.
Wouldn't you call that a cult?
Maybe. Probably.
Maybe. Mr. Paul McKeskey, always a pleasure having you in studio.
Absolutely, man.
And, it's fun. I don't get me wrong. I love talking basketball and hoops with you. We'll have to do that next week because the NBA playoffs are right around the corner.
My guy Giannis got hurt.
Yeah, well,
Bucks.
I have a bet with Mo. My Celtics versus his Bucks, and it ain't looking good for
Mr. Not anymore. It's not.
Or as John DiDomenico, the Trump impersonator, said, Paul McKeskey. Paul McKeskey.
I love that name.
Yes, I love that name, Paul McKeskey. Anyway, Mo, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
All right, brother.
And we have Eva Chase, who's going to be joining us next segment. Plenty of stuff to get to with her. As an open trans woman, Trans Day of Visibility, there are still Republicans that are so upset that Trans Day of Visibility landed on Easter. I'm going to talk to her about that and many other topics, and we will take your phone calls on the other side. I know we have some people patiently waiting on hold. I promise you I will get to your calls on the other side, and we will do that in just a few minutes when Eva Chase joins us in studio. Take a break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Ice hockey in the desert. Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on, I almost forgot what day it was today, on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, if you like what I do, if you like the show, subscribe to my YouTube page, @PTL Radio Show, if you want to learn a little bit more about me. If you'd like me to speak at one of your events, check out my website, ptlradio.com, a fairly new website. I'm proud of it. And check that out. And, we've been talking about a lot today. Today, an interesting day in sports and news. O.J. Simpson passing away at 76, which I clearly gave my opinions on that. We've got the Masters. I'm a big golf fan, so my eyes are going to be glued to the television watching the Masters all week. And joining us in studio to talk a little news, a little politics, maybe even a little sports. She is an openly transgender woman who is running for office here in Las Vegas. She ran in 2022, got over 7,000 votes, which I think is quite an accomplishment when it's your first time out on the campaign trail. And Eva Chase joining us in studio right now. Eva, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Hi, Brian. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, very busy day today, right?
Yes.
A lot going on in the world from a news perspective, from a sports perspective. I do want to ask you about this because it was something that I talked about, and a lot of people are still talking about it, which is Trans Day of Visibility, which has been which many people on the far right either don't know, they're not educated, they don't understand, but they want to lash out because it landed on Easter. And as you know, this is a day that has landed on March 31st for the last 15 years. So Joe Biden did what any decent human being would do and say, hey, let's recognize Trans Day of Visibility, which any normal human being would have no problem with. But those on the far right said, oh my God, you're ruining our Easter Sunday. How dare you take this sacred day? And first of all, it doesn't affect your Easter in any way. I haven't seen any stories of how an Easter Sunday dinner or a gathering or whatever you do, going to church, was greatly negatively affected because it happened to be Trans Day of Visibility. So my question to you is, what do you make of it? You've seen it, the hatred, the bigotry, and right-wingers out there claiming that Joe Biden took their Easter away because of Trans Day of Visibility.
I think they are out to lunch on this one because it had nothing to do with them going to an Easter service and then going over and having an Easter dinner and all that. I was at the Trans Day of Visibility at the Southern Nevada, the Trans Alliance area.
Yep.
And I was invited to be one of the featured speakers. I did a 10-minute speech, and during that speech, I said this: I am Eva Olivia Chase, a fully transitioned trans woman, and I'm very proud of it. But then I looked at the audience and I said, I am more proud of you, because you are, everybody here, you are being your true, authentic self. Be brave, follow your convictions, and be strong. And then I went into my platform and what I was going to talk about. But I wanted to make sure it wasn't about me. It was about all those brave people that were there, and they were who they truly are. So if people on the right don't want to understand us, we don't have the problem. They do.
I agree. I think that's well said. And I get frustrated with it, as you know, with anybody who's bigoted in nature. So I hear somebody like a Candace Owens, for example, who I think is despicable because I think she spreads her bigotry and her hatred and her anti-Semitism and all this stuff so that she could sell her books and make money. And I would call anybody despicable who does that. Candace Owens, in my opinion, is an opportunist. And she makes this claim all the time, Eva, and it pisses me off. And I want you to respond to it, and then I'll give you my reaction. I think we'll have very similar responses. But she says, why is it are all these transgenders out there now in 2024? Why is it all these gay people are out there now? And I know the two and two don't go hand in hand, but she makes that claim as well. Why are all these transgenders out there now or in the last couple years? Now, I want to respond to that, but I want you to respond to it first. When she makes what I consider a really dumb comment like that, what do you say to that?
Well, she's not very informed, because if you go back in the history of mankind, even go back to the Roman days, Roman Empire, you had trans people in the Roman Empire, and you had trans people back in the Middle Ages. Maybe they just, because of the society at the time, weren't able to fully express who they were. But it's been here since the dawn of time.
Right.
She needs to wake up, smell the coffee. This is 2024, and get with the program.
I agree with you. And you have to be a certain type of ignorance, certain type of dumb, for lack of a better term. There are less Candace Owens out there in the world today than there were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and 20, 30 years ago. And I don't speak for you, but I feel like, and tell me if you disagree, a lot of people like yourself are maybe not as comfortable being who you want to be. It could be transgender, it could be gay, could be bi, whatever. Maybe even 10 years ago, it wasn't as socially accepted as it is now. Now, you still have the bigoted morons out there like the Candace Owens and the Charlie Kirks and the Matt Walshes, who, in my opinion, are just absolutely horrendous human beings. You're still going to have those people, right? But there's not as many of those people in society, in my opinion, today. It's more socially accepted. So, if you're gay or if you're transgender, what does that mean? It means that people like you are going to be more comfortable. You're not going to be, even though sadly, some people are still going to judge you. We can't end that. But less people are going to judge you, and it's more socially accepted. How is it possible that Candace Owens she has to know that? How does she not know that? How does a Matt Walsh not know that? These people that attack people like you, how do they not know that? There's less people like them now, and that's why people like you are able to be who you are. Do they not know that, or are they just ignoring it because they just want to spread their bigotry and get their clicks?
They are, as you say, they're opportunists, and they don't want to face the truth, but they're taking a social issue and they're capitalizing on it. If you go back, let's say, go back to the early 70s, real quickly. When Charles Manson and his family did those murders, he was sentenced to prison. Not long after that, California abolished the death penalty. Now, normally, in a heinous crime like that, Charlie Manson and Susan Atkins and all the other ones, Tex Watson, they wouldn't have lasted more than 2, 3, 4 years. They would have been part of the death penalty. But it was changed because of someone's perception of what should and should not, what's not acceptable when it isn't acceptable. So now if you go back to modern time now, it's acceptable to be out in public, to be who you truly are.
Yeah.
Whereas when you mentioned 1978, when I was a senior in high school, if I had come out in 1978, can you imagine the harassment I would have received?
It's gotten better, but it's still out there.
Yes,
it's still
is.
out there, and there are idiots out there like Candace Owens, who, yes, I think is a complete idiot. Not that I think she's dumb. She knows. She knows what I said. She knows what you said. She only spreads this bigotry because she wants to make it look like all these people are being indoctrinated and it's being forced on people. And she says things like that because the bigots out there like it, and they buy her books and they give her TV appearances. And it's really despicable. It's really sad. I know we have some people waiting on hold, so why don't I get to the phone calls, Eva? 702-221-7283. And again, the number is 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Good. I have a question for Eva, and it's a serious question. I was wondering, my child is non-binary, and I don't understand truly what that means, and I was wondering if you could explain it to me.
Susan, non-binary means you aren't really a guy or a girl. You're just sort of you. And
okay,
that means that you, well, in terms of liking people, maybe you like both guys and girls, but you don't identify either. You don't identify as a woman or a man. You're just a human being, and you're you.
Okay. How is that different from androgynous?
I think I have heard that term, but I'm going to be blatantly honest with you. I am not quite sure about that particular term.
That term means neither male nor female.
Well, that would be about the same, because you're a binary. You don't identify as a man or a woman. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan.
Yep. You betcha. Also, I wanted to say that I think that the robocalls are criminal because they're disseminating misinformation and disinformation.
Agree. This is how they get money. This is how they're getting money from these dopes out there, and that's what they are.
Yeah.
These dopes who still think that the 2020 election was stolen. That's what they are. You know, I had a conversation, ladies, with a guy yesterday, and he said, oh, come on, there's disinformation. They listen to their news and you listen to yours. I said, no, they're not. There's right and there's wrong. The earth is not flat, and Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election. Just because somebody on their right-wing, idiotic, whatever they get their information from, says it was stolen, I get my information from fact-based people, from the electorate, from secretaries of state. Cisco Aguilar has been on this show before, the Secretary of State here in Nevada. That's where I get my information when it comes to elections, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
So, this is exactly what the Republican Party is running their platform on because they want your money, okay? They're not getting mine. They're not getting yours, but they run it on drag queens the sky is falling with drag queen readings, right? Indoctrinating our kids, right? They'll talk about that. Joe Biden's in the basement. Everything is his fault. Gas prices, inflation. This is what they do, scare tactics, and dead people are going to be voting for Joe Biden. I mean, this is how they're trying to get money from these people. Yeah.
That's another one, the mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
Washington State has had mail-in ballots forever. I'm calling from Spokane, Washington. And we've had mail-in ballots forever, and there's never been an issue.
Nope, only when a Republican loses there must be an issue, Susan. Put two and two together there, and we can figure out what's going on. Susan, I do appreciate hearing from you. Thank you for your call. Thank you.
You betcha.
In Spokane, Washington, home of the Gonzaga Bulldogs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
702, good basketball team, good coach, Mark
Few. Made the Elite Eight this year.
Yes, Mark Few, great coach.
Yes,
702, Adam Morrison, one of my favorite college players of all time. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kava. Hi, Kava.
Hi, how are you guys today?
Good.
Hi, Kaba.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I have a question for both of you guys. It's unrelated, but I want to ask one question first. Then we'll get to the politics. Okay, first question. Brian, Royals better than the Astros?
Come again?
Royals are better than the Astros, yes or no?
Well, I'll just say yes because the Astros are a bunch of cheaters. So you could have named a minor league team, and I'd say they're better than the Astros because they're with all due respect to Astro fans out there, they're a bunch of cheaters, and there'll always be an asterisk with that World Series championship.
Fact. Okay, so politics. I agree with what Eva was saying. MAGA only care about themselves. They've never cared about anybody but themselves. And because Trump has decided that because he thinks he's better than everyone else, that he can allow his little racist little team of ignorant fools be out and proud about being the little maggots that they are. And you know what? I'm LGBTQIA plus too. And you know what I say to them? You can suck it, MAGA. Cry harder. We do not care. We don't. We genuinely don't.
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, I'm always going to have concern and I'm always going to worry.
Same.
I don't think this is going to be a landslide victory for either candidate, Trump or Joe Biden. I think it's going to be very close. I am mesmerized every day when I was at a Republican event yesterday, and I was there with a friend who's running for office, who's a Republican, very nice lady. There were a lot of nice people in this room. There were a few crazies, but there were a lot of nice people there. And I say to myself, these people are voting for Donald Trump. And this is what I struggle with every day. How can you be a good human being and an educated person? I get it. I get it if you don't want to vote for Joe Biden. Even though I disagree with it, I get it. If you're a staunch Republican, you don't like Joe Biden's policies, you don't like what he stands for, fine. I'm not going to, even though I disagree with it, I understand. What I don't understand is how could you support this guy? How could you hate Joe Biden that much that you would?
Because the orange daddy told them to.
You can
the
throw
orange
away.
daddy told them to hate everybody.
You can throw away whatever moral compass you claim you have and vote for a liable sexual abuser and a man who has treated women with such disrespect over the years. The cheating, the lying.
Are you surprised by how MAGA acts? I mean, let's be real. We all know MAGA's going to act like this at some point or another.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it doesn't surprise me, really. I mean, well, like you said, they disrespect women. They go after the minorities. They go after the LGBTQIA plus community.
Right.
These morons have no moral compass. And they're like the Joker. They don't care about anything.
And if they do claim, and by the way, Cobb, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. If they do claim they have a moral compass, then explain to me why you would support somebody who does not. This isn't up for debate. Just because the guy walks into a Chick-fil-A yesterday and buys 30 milkshakes, he's played out to be some sort of hero by some people. He's a draft dodger. He's somebody that's been sued civilly thousands of times. Him and his father didn't want black people living on their properties. We know what he said about women. You know what he said about people of color, about Jewish people of the Jewish faith. I don't understand it. This was going through my head yesterday. These are decent human beings that I'm talking to. I think there were a lot of decent people at this event that I went to yesterday. They were very respectful to me. They knew who I was, but we're glad to see you here, maybe hear a different point of view. They were very nice to me. But so many of these people are voting for Trump. And if it's about policy, then why aren't you at least willing to call out Trump for who he is? I don't understand it. Eva, I'm not being facetious. I'm mesmerized. I'm confused. I'm just blown away that there are so many people in this country, whether it's 30% or 40%, whatever, that want a man running the country who sells $60 Bibles, who sells $400 sneakers, who has unprotected sex with a porn star 2 months after his child is born, who's a liable sexual abuser, who calls our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers. You served, right? Right? You served this country. How could you explain someone like you who's a hero, and I love respect your service, as I would say for anybody, Democrat, Republican, whoever you are, to support a man who thinks you're a sucker and a loser because you served this country and you risked your life? I don't understand it. Help me make sense of this. It's the question I ask you, I ask all sorts of people every day. And I never really, truly understand. And I know you're not one of those people. I know you don't speak for them, but I don't, Eva, I just don't understand it. I guess that's what I don't understand. How could you make sense of it? I don't understand it.
Well, it's very simple. If you go back in years past, it was about policy.
Right.
And it was about a candidate, whether it was a Democrat or Republican, was running on something that would benefit the individual when they voted. People, when they vote, they don't look at the whole enchilada. They look at just a small piece. How do I benefit if I vote for this person?
Right.
It could be based on income. It could be based on gender. It could be based on social status. And you're willing to overlook a person's personality and their flaws and their faults and their criminal activity to vote for them. And it comes down, there's one area in particular why some of these good people are probably going to vote for him, because they probably are against abortion. And after that ruling in Arizona that took it all the way back to 1864 by the Arizona Supreme Court, we here in Nevada, we better watch ourselves, because we're going to have a lot of women coming from Arizona needing abortions coming to our state. That's why when I get to the state assembly this year, I am going to push to codify abortion in our state constitution. It's not in there. Legislatively speaking, it's been there since 1990, but it's not been codified. You know, they had the votes in Ohio, Kentucky, Kansas, and they all passed.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a vote in Florida requiring a 60% threshold. And I bet it passes in Florida. So we here in Nevada, we have to codify abortion as part of health care for women, because abortion is part of health care for women. And that's one issue that a lot of Republicans hide behind, and they got to have, so they overlook all the warts on the frog named Donald Trump.
Yeah. I think that's probably well said, and I'm just very disappointed. I'm very
Me too.
disappointed that there are so many people in this country that will still be voting for Donald Trump. It is worrisome. I still think Joe Biden's going to come away with the win in the end, at least I hope. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to give out the information so people could learn a little bit more about you, donate to your campaign. How do they go about doing that, Eva?
You can find me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Ballotpedia, Blue Voter Guide, this wonderful radio station, KSHP. Follow this show, Pushing the Limits. You'll hear my commercials here. And you can follow me when I make public events. Tonight I will be at the Bent Pub or Grill and Pub on Maryland with the Lambda LGBTQ Business Community Association. It's a social mixer, so if you don't have any plans, RSVP, the Lambda Business Association, and then you can come tonight, and I'd love to meet you and talk to you about my campaign.
That sounds like a really nice event. I hope people come out, and I'm glad you're doing that. That sounds great, and I appreciate you being here. I know you'll be back with us very soon, and thank you so much for coming in, Eva. Good to see you. Big announcement. The former White House press secretary who worked for Donald Trump for less than 2 weeks, Anthony Scaramucci, is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I love the Mooch. He's a friend.
The Mooch.
Yeah, I'm happy to call him a friend, and he's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. I don't think he's going to have a lot of nice things to say about Donald Trump, which is music to my ears, by the way. Thank you for being here, Eva. Also, my thanks to the big man, Paul McKeskey, for joining us in studio as well. I'm also going to get some live life coaching live on the air tomorrow, so that's going to be really interesting. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you. Join my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show on YouTube, at PTL Radio Show, and my website, ptlradio.com. We'll see you tomorrow. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
I'm Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16. Former Lieutenant Governor candidate, Progressive Independent Democrat, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, fully transitioned transgender woman. I support women's rights and veterans and unions and other progressive ideas. Please donate to my campaign on Spot Fund and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Stay progressive, everybody.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Looking for excitement and fun? Head over to Silver Sevens Casino, conveniently located just blocks away from the Strip at the corner of Flamingo and Paradise, with free parking. Step inside and play your favorites. How about some 3-2 blackjack, or get lucky at $5 craps? And for all you slot fans out there,